28 Pixar movies have been made since Toy Story came out. Today, we will be ranking each one of those movies on this tier list scale. Now, I want to be really clear. This goes all the way to F. And I'm not suggesting that nothing is going to go down here today, but let's all keep in mind that we are ultimately talking about Pixar movies. Even an F for a Pixar movie is still probably pretty good. I'm not here to say that if I put something low, that means that it is like an F compared to DComs. It's not going to be Good Luck Charlie or Dad Napped. Let's get into it. We draw from the pile. Boom. Luca. Wow. This is going to start off something. Luca is the only Pixar movie I've ever turned off because I was so bored. I started it and I got a few minutes in and I said, boy, this is a really, really boring movie. I don't love it. And so I turned it off. And then all I saw was Silenzio Bruno. And I went, okay. But I've never had that experience with a Pixar movie before. I've always found Pixar movies to be charming in a way that, like, even the less good ones I want to watch. And that means that it is an F for me, dog. Boy, it's weird that we're starting a Pixar tier list with putting something as an F. Next up, we've got Lightyear. We're on a solid beginning here, aren't we? I went to see Lightyear on my birthday. I think this movie is very mid, to be honest. It doesn't have the like heart or connection to me that I feel from other Pixar films. I find it to be pretty unmemorable. I think I remember the cat being pretty fun. I couldn't tell you what happened in it right now. I'm gonna start with this at kind of a solid C tier. As I remember it, it had moments that I enjoyed, but is overall pretty mid. Boy, we started in a weirdly low place for Pixar. Next, our third pick of the draft. Cars 1. You know what's interesting about Cars 1 is that Cars Land at California Adventure is one of my favorite lands in a theme park, period. So beautiful, especially at night with all the neon. The theming is so good. But how do I feel about the movie? Haven't seen it in a while. You know, we do know Life is a Highway is a big feature in that movie. I think this movie is fine. I like the theme of sort of like be humbled and like grind yourself back up and like kind of shedding the ego. Cars as an IP, as a franchise, has brought about more questions than answers, I would say. Well, the looming question, which is, in the world of cars, do they have car insurance or health insurance? You know, I'm not sure. And then I have concerns about outside Tow Mater's Junkyard Jamboree that they have a cattle, which is a tractor, in like a pen, like a petting zoo. And I think like, boy, the distance between a tractor and a car is much closer than the distance between a cow and a human. I guess it's not super different than us having chimpanzees in zoos, but also they should be in the wild. The last thing that it brings about to me is that in the Cars movie, there are car babies. How does a car baby come to be? They do have tailpipes. You know, that's true. I, again, only have questions, not answers. I think that ultimately Cars is a B movie. If it can bring about so many questions, there's some good world building, you know? Next up, number 4. Soul. Oh man, I really, really wanted to love this movie. As somebody that has a history of jazz and has gone through my own journey with music, that was what I was gonna do, and then ultimately pivoting and changing my life, and still it being so important to me. I'm currently teaching myself to play guitar. As somebody that has such deep love for the genre of music that this focuses on, I just thought that it was like pretty boring. I had a really hard time with it. I think because of the content being more resonant to me, I do think of it a little bit more favorably, but I'm going to put it at the top of C tier, right above Lightyear. It does go above Lightyear. I think it's more memorable than Lightyear is. That's the best I can say of it. Next up, boom. Finding Dory. I saw Finding Dory at a drive-in movie theater. Finding Dory, I think, had some wonderful character additions. I really love the sea lions. I love Gerald. I think Gerald is a wonderful addition, but all of them, the 3 of them are great. The otters, holy, the otters are adorable. They are so damn cute. Love Becky. Love that beluga whale. Hank the octopus, also a great character. I think there are so many wonderful characters that got added to this franchise, and yet I don't really know what happened in the movie. I think it'll end up at the bottom of this tier, but for right now, because there are only two, I'm gonna put this under Cars on the B tier. I did enjoy it, but the themes didn't really stick. I think it's tough for sequels to be as iconic. Not all of them. There will certainly be some exceptions that'll come up a little bit later, but generally speaking, I think it is a low B tier movie. Next up, Elemental. Oh man, a very recent release. I really enjoyed this movie. Man, it's so good, isn't it? I really, really loved it. Wonderful world building, very clever design of the world and the way the characters interact. The theme was so good. The story was so good. I loved how it came together at the end. I think this movie is super, super strong. However, I don't think it is an S tier movie. If S tier to me is these are the best of the best, the cream of the crop of Pixar movies, I don't know that I can put Elemental there. I think this movie is great. I love this movie. And so for that, it is at currently the first addition to the A tier. Do you think it would be an S if it came out when you were younger? No, because there's one that came out recently that I'm putting S. Next up, Inside Out. The original Inside Out. Now, obviously, the second one has just come out. If you don't know, Inside Out was directly inspired by an Epcot attraction called Cranium Command. It talked about sort of being inside the head of a human person. My feelings about Inside Out, I know this is one that I'm probably going to be on opposite sides with some people. I'm on opposite sides with Molly. I'll tell you on this one for sure. For me, Inside Out is the first time I saw an animated film that I think is a different movie for adults than it is for kids. Because as adults, we have lived the process of happy memories becoming sad memories, because we have actually gone through the thing that Riley goes through in the first film, and we have felt those core memories change in what emotion is attached to them. I think that movie is a different film. I was just talking to somebody at work about how Inside Out allows her to talk to her kids about emotions being bottled up, or recognizing different. Oh my God, it's so good. But for me, it is such a powerful movie. It is such an important movie, and it will be my first addition to S tier. Inside Out is an S tier Pixar film for me. It is also why I have been very nervous about the second one. I'm happy to see it getting strong reviews out the gate. Next up, boom. Monsters University. Not too long ago, we talked about the planned sequels. There was a planned sequel for Monsters that was them hunting down Boo because they would go through her door and find an old woman there. Instead, we get this prequel of the monsters going to Monsters U and learning to be monsters. You know what is fascinating to me about this is how prevalent the merchandise for this movie continues to be today. I don't think that it is as relevant or as popular, but I guess it's like the Hogwarts house of Pixar, right? Of oh, what frat do I wear? But I don't feel like it's super iconic. That hat is everywhere. I feel generally positive about the Monsters franchise, but I didn't think that this was anywhere near as good as the original. The hard thing about Monsters is that I think that if this movie stood on its own, it would be low tier, but because it has characters that I really like, it does benefit from that. It benefits from being a sequel, almost in a way that Buzz doesn't. It's either low B or high C. I don't find any of the characters other than Sully and Mike to be memorable, whereas Finding Dory gave me a lot of characters that I find to be really memorable. I think I'm gonna put it at high C for the moment. Nor do I really remember what it was about, except the fraternity thing. Next up, Finding Nemo. In the big blue world. This song wasn't in the film. This one's a pretty easy call for where it goes, because I can say this, it is solidly ahead of Cars and solidly behind Elemental. So that means that it right now goes right here. And I gotta tell you, chat, my guts, it's gonna be down toward the end of A by the time we're done here. Next up, Cars 2. What's this movie about? I need some assistance. All right.
Would you like to come and see the world with me?
This is the James Bond Cars movie.
I'm sticking by you the way you always stick by me.
Ready? Is the Popemobile Catholic?
Non ci credo.
You gotta be kidding me.
Another question. Maynard just canonically confirmed religion in the Cars franchise. Not just religion. He confirmed Catholicism. And I'm not telling you what to believe. but that would suggest that the Cars believe that there was a son of car god that died for their sins. I can't do this. I can't do this. Gotta do this too.
Most important thing in life. Hello?
Dominic Toretto. You don't know me. You're about to.
The fact that Dominic Toretto is Tow Mater is the perfect casting. Does that mean that Brian is Lightning McQueen?
Looks like the sins of running have followed us home. We're being hunted.
What? You know, you have to admit, the fact that both franchises parachute cars out of a plane, there's something to that.
Nope, I'm not looking.
We didn't get The Rock. Oh, that was so funny. I think this movie's a D. It's a low D, but it's a D. And somebody's gonna be like, ahead of Luca? And I'm gonna be like, remember, I was so bored that I turned this off. Next up, Up. Oh man. You know what's hard about Up? I want to rank Up as two different films. Like, I want to rank the first 8 minutes of Up, and then I want to rank the rest of Up. Because I'm gonna be honest, I think the first 8 minutes of Up is S tier, and I think the rest of Up is less good. I think Doug is pretty annoying, if I'm honest. Yeah, I don't think the villain is very good. Carl is a good character. Russell's a fine character. Kevin is great. One of the only ones nominated for Best Picture, by the way. The song, that iconic song, and the story of Carl and Ellie is so powerful, but then the rest of the movie, I don't like as much. The first 8 minutes are S, the rest of the movie is B, so I will put it at A. Next up, boom. Toy Story 4. Ooh, a contentious one. A lot of people think this movie should never have been made. Wait till I tell them that Toy Story 5 is coming. A lot of people think that Toy Story 4 never should have been made. They don't like this movie at all, and I hard disagree. I think it was a ton of fun, and I loved seeing these characters again. The only character that I didn't care for was Forky. He's literal trash. I just talked about how when I heard Inside Out 2 was coming out that I was like, oh, don't ruin my thing. I understand the desire to not keep going because you're like, this was perfect. Stop at 3. It was like, it was great. I get that. I totally understand it. That said, I also really liked 4. This is going to be really bold. Chad, I'm going to put it A tier. I'm putting it right under Elemental. I'd rather watch Toy Story 4 than Finding Nemo or Up. Molly, I see you in chat asking about Toy Story 2. We're going to disagree. Hey, listen, some of y'all think that Luca wasn't boring. Different strokes for different folks, right? See, Molly? Molly disagrees with me on that. Next up, WALL-E. Another one that I sort of wish I could split up, like Up, man. The beginning of WALL-E, where it's just WALL-E on the planet. He's just hanging out and like watching Hello Dolly is so good. I love the scene where he is flying around with Eve in space. And then they get on the ship and I suddenly don't care anymore. WALL-E came out when I was working at a movie theater, and every day I would take my 35-minute lunch and I would go into one of the theaters playing WALL-E. And I would sit in the very front row of the theater. It was usually empty. I would lay across the seats and I would take a nap to the sounds of WALL-E. And it was always the same part of WALL-E. It was always the opening and space. And it brought me so much joy. I loved it so much, but I just don't care about the back half. And so for me, WALL-E, I'm going to put it at the top of B. It's going to go over Cars, but I can't put it on an A. But I don't think the beginning is as iconic as the first 8 minutes of Up. Also, for Molly's like, I will wrench control of this. I will be heard. There is so much blue. There is a lot of blue in these posters, isn't there? Next up, Brave. I'll be shooting for my own hand. Another one that I saw for my birthday. I saw it. I thought it was fine. Then when I worked on Festival of Fantasy Parade, that song, man, it's so good. I think that song is better than the whole movie, to be honest with you. And there are moments that I really enjoy. I like the theme of Brave. I like the brothers and turning into the bears. I thought they were very cute, but I don't find it to be particularly memorable other than like there are some cute characters and I remember the theme, which is more than I could say for some of these films. If I was ranking songs, that song would be very high, but I am not ranking songs. And so Instead, we put the movie, I think, where it belongs. I think it belongs to go in C tier. I'm currently going to put it below Monsters U, but above Soul. Here's the poll. Boom. Original Incredibles. OG Incredibles. Brad Bird, indeed. It is so good. The music, iconic. The world building is great. The characters are wonderful. This is one of my favorite Pixar movies. The score is one of the best. We get the addition of Edmund Mode. I thought all the family members were interesting. You know, you started... maybe not started, but certainly got us the most iconic Pixar mom meme with Elastigirl. I mean, come on. It birthed not only 3 children, but a meme empire. I'm going to say that this movie is S tier. I'm going to put it, controversial probably, I'm putting it right under Inside Out for me. Next up, boom. Toy Story 3. Ah, there it is. We finally got to an OG Toy Story trilogy movie. Toy Story 3, I don't really need to wait on this one. This one feels very obvious to me. It's not going to be a controversial take. It's going to F tier, baby. No, I'm kidding. Obviously. Okay, it's going to the top. When you think of Pixar icons, when you think of what deserves to be one step above, there's maybe a world where there's another tier needed that is Toy Story tier. Should have concluded the series. I disagree. I'm happy that this A tier movie is here. Next up, boom. Onward. Again, a movie that I think I'm directly in the demo for this. It is aimed right at somebody that loves some D&D and some like nerdy stuff. And yet still, I didn't walk away being like, man, that thing really gripped me. And I do enjoy some of the jokes, but I don't walk away from this movie being like, oh man, that's a Pixar icon for me. So for that reason, I am going to put it in B tier. I still think I would rather watch it than Cars. So I'm going to nestle it between WALL-E and Cars. Next up, boom, OG Toy Story. Well, you know, it finally happened. The movie that started it all, baby. They gave us this iconic franchise that had us fall in love with Pixar animation. And I will not even hesitate. I will not go take any longer. I will just go ahead and say that for some of you all, you're going to say 3 would be the top of your category. For me, Toy Story 1 is number 1. 3 is a great film, but there is no 3 without 1. Not to spoil the rest of these, but it's the number 1 Pixar movie. It deserves its place, and there's nothing that's going to move it down. This is number 1 right here. Next up, Turning Red. Turning Red! I teased Turning Red earlier when I ranked Elemental. Someone said, if this had come out when you were a kid, would you have ranked it S tier? Implying, is nostalgia the reason that something is not ranked in the top tier? If a movie is great, it will connect regardless of nostalgia. And here is my example. Turning Red is an S tier Pixar film. The question is where it goes. And I do think that it goes right under Toy Story and Toy Story 3. It is my number 3 Pixar movie as of right now. Everything about it is so good. The characters, the visual design, the story, the analogies, the music. The only thing that would make it better is if it wasn't set in Fantasyland. I'm kidding. I just had to say it. Okay, boom. Ratatouille. Where does Ratatouille go? Ratatouille is very, very strong. Wonderful film. I don't think people think about Ratatouille as a good music movie, but the score is really beautiful. Also, I mean, I think Patton Oswalt's voice as Remy is an iconic voice role. Wonderful story about anyone being able to learn to do a thing. And by that, I mean anyone being able to have a rat puppeteer their hair so that they are able to do a thing. That's all I need. If any of you all happen to be in possession of a rat that I could put under a hat, what I'm trying to do here is suddenly be the best chef in the trio, sort of push Alan off that pedestal. He's already at that top spot. It's a little, it's unfair. I'll give them this whole closet. I'll move all my stuff out of there. A lot of square footage for a rat, by the way. And just for the record, I'll pay top dollar if it's voiced by Patton Oswalt. Ratatouille, in all that, I think what I decided is that Ratatouille is going to go in the A tier for me. I am going to put it above Up. I am going to put it above Finding Nemo. And I'm going to put it below Elemental and Toy Story 4. Next up, A Bug's Life. We, of course, do get lots of important characters in A Bug's Life. We get Flick, we get Hopper, but most important of all, obviously, Heimlich. I mean, without Heimlich, there is no Heimlich's Choo Choo Train. I find a lot of these characters to be really interesting and iconic. It makes me think about Block Party Bash and seeing Flick and Ada and the stick bug and Heimlich sticking out of the saxophone. I like the theme of this movie. You know, the many rising up to take down the oppressive few. Very resonant, I would say. Very impressive animation, but I haven't watched in a minute. I do think it suffers a little bit from being an earlier Pixar film. They've just evolved their storytelling. This may be a hot take. I think I'm going to put it at the top of B tier. I don't know if that's a hot take. B for Bug's Life. It could be A for A Bug's Life, but it's not. It's B for Bug's Life. All right, next up. Toy Story 2. Let's round out the Toy Story movies. Oh, wow, Molly says immediately. I'm potentially going to make a very dicey. No, I don't think I'm going to. I think I'm just going to put this probably solidly where it belongs to go. I did think about for a moment putting Turning Red above it. I'm going to put this solidly at the bottom of the trilogy where I think it belongs, third in the S tier rankings. Next up, I flipped it upside. Monsters, Inc. Wonderful world building in this movie. Great characters. Kicked off like an iconic franchise. Great music is in this as well. Iconic music. Wonderful voice acting. Boo is so freaking cute. And just the interactions between them is so cute. Also spawned some great attractions that I really enjoy. This is a wonderful film. And for me, this is an S tier film. I'm going to put Incredibles at the bottom of S, and I'm going to put this right above it. Boom. All right. Boom. Coco! Another one that I think is really good. I think it's a beautiful film. I think it has great music, but I didn't personally resonate with it as much as maybe some other people did, especially when I saw the reception of it. I saw a bunch of people just like really attaching themselves to it in a way that I have to some of these other Pixar movies. I do think it's A tier. And when I think about where it goes on A tier, I can certainly say it's above these. Is it above Elemental? I think it is right below Elemental for me. Beautiful film though, beautiful film. 3 left. Incredibles 2, Cars 3, and The Good Dinosaur. Good Dinosaur. I do think it has some beautiful scenes that if you just like screenshotted or had a clip of just the animation, there are some really beautiful moments, but that's not particularly shocking of Pixar. Turns out Pixar can animate. I love dinosaurs, and we got a dinosaur movie from Pixar, and it's very mid. You're right. Disney does struggle with dinosaurs. Like Dinosaur is not very good. It's such a ripe like time and look and just iconic creatures. The Land Before Time, not all 27 of them, but the first one is an icon, you know? Yes, I understand Jurassic Park is I'm making like an animated movie comparison. And I got to give it a D for Dinosaur. Now, I will put it, I think, at the top of D because I think it is visually more compelling than Cars 2. Next, we'll do Cars 3. My problem with this franchise is that when I think about Toy Story 1, 2, and 3, I know exactly what's happening in all those movies. And when I think about Cars 1, 2, and 3, they get muddied up and mixed up in my head because there's a lot in common between Cars 3 and Cars 1's themes. I don't know. I struggle with this franchise a little bit. It's not Cars 2, I guess, but I'm going to put it bottom of C. I don't think it's good, but I'm thrilled to tell you that when I looked up the link to get the list of all of the Cars movies, I was assured that there are many more projects on the way. Okay, Incredibles 2. I really like this movie. It's not as good as Incredibles 1, but as a sequel, it's pretty strong. Obviously, the Toy Story sequels are very good. I am hopeful about the Inside Out sequel, but then when you look at other sequels, they fall off pretty hard, right? But I think Incredibles 2 is strong. I think this is a strong movie. I like the development of Jack Jack. I enjoy continuing to get to hang out with these characters. I enjoy more Edna Mode. I like living in this world, and I was happy to get to do it again. I don't think it is as unique or original or as strong as the first one, but I'm very happy that this thing exists. I do think that I will solidly put it at the bottom of A tier, though. I think that it's going to go right here. I'd much rather watch it than I think A Bug's Life or Wall-E. You know, outside of Toy Story, the best sequel on the list. We'll see if I still think that after watching Inside Out 2. Hello, I'm back. This is Future Max from that recording, but past Max to you. Anyway, I've seen Inside Out 2 now, and I am ready to rate it. And let me just say, I cried a lot watching Inside Out 2. I already love this franchise, as you can see, with it being an S tier. I was really worried about this sequel because it is one of my favorite Pixar movies, and anytime you do a sequel, as can be made evident by, this one, it's dangerous territory. But unfortunately, Pixar decided it was time to hold up a mirror to all the things I like least about myself and make me cry just more than usual in a Pixar movie. So great. I've been thinking about this a lot ever since I saw it. I knew that I owed a ranking for this movie, and I think this is going to be controversial and probably pretty personal, but it is solidly S tier, and I actually would slide it between Toy Story 2 and 3, breaking up the trilogy and making it my third highest Pixar film on the ranking. Here, this is where it goes. I'll just hold it there.
Hello.
I would like to know if you are in hard disagreement with anything that I ranked.
Luca is offensive.
Yeah.
I would put Toy Story 4 S tier and higher than Toy Story 2 personally.
A lot of people spamming C's and D's when I got to Toy Story 4, Molly.
That's silly. I understand people think the franchise should have ended at 3.
Yeah.
But Toy Story 4 is easily the funniest of the Toy Story movies, if not the funniest Pixar film. Ian Peele and Keanu Reeves, those characters are so delightful. There's way less Jessie, which is great.
Yeah.
Bo Peep is such a better female toy.
Unfortunately, Forky's in it, which I know you and
I enjoy the Forky.
Yeah, I hate him. I just hate that character.
I would probably put Onward higher than Bug's Life or Wall-E. I enjoyed Onward, and I think Onward got kind of screwed because it came out right when COVID
It was a
starting.
pandemic film. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you about Soul. When I watched the movie, I was like, I didn't like that as much as I thought I would. But all the Soul representation in the in Disneyland and on the Disney cruise ship is one of my favorite things.
Oh, sure.
And that's so weird to me that it's I could really take or leave the movie, but the addition of him as a character and the addition of jazz music
is nice.
In the park presence, I really enjoy. But other than that, I think we have a pretty good list going here.
Okay. Well, thank you, and
You're
appreciate
welcome.
you giving Luca hot takes.
Yeah, here I am.
All right. Talk to you later.
All
Hey, I'm curious if you had any strong disagreements or hot takes about the rankings.
Here's the thing. I disagree with you just a touch about Soul, just because I don't know. Soul hit a interesting, struck a chord for me.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny, Alan. That's good.
I agree with The Incredibles. I agree with the Toy Stories. I agree with Inside Out. Oh gosh. I even actually, to a degree, agree with Luca. So I don't think I have any necessarily crazy hot takes.
Yeah. All right, buddy. Well, thank you. Appreciate your insight.
Yeah, I'm happy to share whatever limited insight I might offer, and appreciate you giving me the shout.
Yeah, of course. All right, buddy. I'll talk to you later. All right, chat. There you go. You've heard from everybody now. Alan and I agree. Luke is terrible, and Molly gets outvoted.